So I'm just here looking at this rear bulkhead that I removed. Now, in order for this to go back in, this top plate is going to have to be heavily modified because now there is an inch or two of insulation, so this will all have to be carved down an inch or two, and then that takes it past this plate, and this is kind of structural to everything, and because this was basically a stereo holder, it didn't do anything else. This was all empty space behind it, and I was using it as storage after I took the stereo out, but it's small holes compared with the size, and there's just absolutely nothing about this that I thought was ideal. But I do have concerns about removing this structure from the top of the fiberglass van in case you ever got on top of it. And I don't know if this was built as part of the structure or not. So, to err on the side of caution, I am going to build something slightly different, probably far more robust, and will make for a better storage area. So I think that's the route I'm going to go on that. Alright, so because I do almost all my projects solo, I've had to come up with inventive ways using physics to try and do the impossible. So, I got a full 4x8 sheet of plywood here. This was an orange background that I had in the studio, in the photo studio. I have 3 of these. So I'm going to use these. The first thing I did is put a couple of milk container or crates there, and I'm going to get this end lifted up onto those. That's going to be my step 1. Put that in there, so that's lifted up that high. So I have camera tripods. Some of them are pretty heavy duty. They're older and I've had them for decades, and they will stand a bit of weight. So I took a quick release plate from them, and that goes right on your tripod head, and it normally stays attached to your camera, and I just took a bolt and put it through a little piece of plywood, and I use this sometimes if I need something to hold a laptop on location or something. But in this case, it's going to be a ceiling support. So let's see if I can get that done. Alright, frustration level is only 2 out of 5. We got this far. Something's gonna go up from here. Let's see what it'll be. Alright, frustration level solid 3 out of 5. That whole thing fell over and scraped my window up a little bit over there, and we'll see what's next. Alright, frustration level now a good solid 4 out of 5, but we're making progress. Let's try and keep it together. Just try and keep it together. Alright, got her into position. Let me brighten this up. Got her into position, and just because of the way it was built before, there was nothing but soft up here. There was no hard walls. So I used basically these, or wherever the styrofoam came out to, as my edge, basically just getting it over as far as I can, and then butting it against that back piece that was already in place, or that had existed before. It worked with the old header, that piece of plywood I'm referring to, that I have already screwed in place. And so there are those pieces of support wood that I took pictures of before, so I would know where they are. Hopefully I can hit them. If not, it'll just go into styrofoam. But I know basically where they are. I'm using I think these are 1.5 or 2. I think they might be 2 inch. screws. And so that should take me through this thin plywood, through 1 inch of styrofoam, and into the support braces. And so hopefully that hopefully that'll work out. Alright, I would film screwing this up and finding the supports that the screws go into, but I'm trying to keep this at least a PG movie, so we're just going to skip filming that. However, no, I'm kidding, I'm not doing too bad. But anyway, what I did not take notice of is I butt this orange piece right against that piece back there. Not sure if that was the right move, because I just realized, oh, this piece, this 8-foot piece, does not come up past the bulkhead like the original piece did. So that's not convenient, because if you're going to put a seam in, I would have rather put the seam back there, not up here. But live and learn. I'm not repositioning it. There will be a piece inserted there and something to cover the gap. So yeah, so watch for that when you put up a 4x8 sheet. If you put it back too far, it's not going to meet up here where you're, because I'm going to keep this bulkhead, and this is going to go back together. Yeah, so that's that. Alright, I got enough screws in there, and that piece is in place. So I'll need another strip down the side. So the original piece, I don't know if I said this before or not, but the original piece didn't come right to the edges because the side walls were just material and they kind of went out and tucked under there or something like that. But we were going all solid material, so I took that right to the edge because the piece that's going to go into this side will be solid, and it needs to somewhat meet up with that, and then there'll be something to fill the seam. And so I need another full-length strip over there. Alright, so yesterday I got this main panel up. Today I'm going to do a little more spray foam just to see if I missed any little holes that probably don't go through the wall, but they might. So there's a few little spots that I'm just going to take a can and touch up, and then I'm going to try and cut a piece to put in the top, and then probably start working on the sides. And it's all just going to go so smoothly and so wonderfully, and it's going to be such an awesome day. Alright, a spray foam tip for you. So when I'm spray foaming, sometimes if a lot is coming out, I've oversprayed the crack, I will use a little trowel or spatula or whatever you call this thing, putty knife, thingamajiggy. Anyway, and I will push some of it back in, or I will relocate some of the foam while it's still really wet. But yesterday I did something I shouldn't do, and I kind of knew it and forgot. After a lot of it has, come out of the hole that you're spraying, and oh, well, that's going to go to waste, don't take your spatula and push it back in after it's starting to dry, because it basically turns it to like a plastic, and it's more solid and it's just hard. And so much of the insulation value in spray foam is the fact that it traps air and it holds air, and that's a part of its insulation value. So when you push on it after it's starting to cure, it turns it into more of a solid, and I think it loses some of its insulation value. And it also, when you start messing with it, like if you push over here, it'll pull from over here and start opening up a little gap right through to the outside wall. And we're trying to make this a solid seal. So So yeah, after it starts to cure a bit, starts to form a film on it, don't try and push it back in the hole. Just leave it alone and cut it off, even though it seems like a big waste. You're kind of going backwards if you try and push it after it's starting to cure. So now I have like a big hole in here. I have to go in and refill this, and here I didn't hit good enough before, and so I will go in and fill that up and probably fill this up a little bit better, and then here, and so just touch this up before I go to starting to cut for this top piece. Cut wood for the top piece. Alright, we got all the extra little bits foamed and just waiting for that to cure. And then I will trim that up. And in the meantime, I will take a measurement and cut this piece the best I can. And I'll also go in and put a second coat of paint on the blue panel that is going over here. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so when you're taking this measurement for this piece, it's going to be, if you did it the way I did it, it's going to be uneven measurements all the way down. Even if you didn't do it the way I did it, the van is curved both this way and this way. It curves in the back. So you gotta find the least level, and I'm averaging between 4 1/4 and 4 1/8 down here. I might be able to trim a little bit at the 1/8, but 4 1/8. So I'm probably going to cut about 4 1/4 wide, and try and work with that, or 1/8. All right, I know I said I was going to cut that piece, but instead I went and cut the pieces for this front bulkhead up here, because that's just the way I roll. Alright, amateur hour here at the van build. So I cut the strip, I put it in and realized, hey, this is longer than the original one. And so I measured it, and it's 8 feet. So what I didn't realize, because I'm not into details, is this sheet here, this main sheet, I must have cut down by a couple inches when I was using it in the studio to make it fit in some set. And so that would explain that. So an 8-foot sheet would almost make it. And if that back piece was spaced out a little bit, or this main sheet was spaced out a little bit from the back sheet, then it would go past the bulkhead, which is the kind of the front support for the wood, or at least that's the way I'm using it. Yeah, so that was interesting. Alright, got one side panel in, and I mainly screwed it right where those wooden blocks that I left in place were, and I put 4 screws in each block at kind of the 4 corners of where that piece of wood exists, so it also acts as kind of a template as to where there's heavier wood that you can screw into if you need to secure something. So I'm using these light poles to kind of keep those panels up there for now, and I put an extra little piece in front of them just so I wouldn't poke a hole in them with the light stands. But yeah. Alright, came out and did some work on the van here last night. Put some more panels in, some more spray foam, trying out some other different spray foams. The one that I was using here last night is has the big expansion factor to it, and that's not. That's actually a hard piece that I jammed in there to stop what I was foaming from above it. I didn't overspray that much. But the one trick I thought I would show you is I had this crazy gap up here in the head between where these panels were ending. There's dips up in here because the braces come through, so it's all uneven. But I really wanted to make sure I filled that area up and coated like the fiberglass area up here. Make sure that, you know, I'm getting my R, what is this, be like R11 or something, all the way through this whole area. And but the gap was big and uneven, and there was like space up in there that needed to be hit. So what I did, as you can see, is I just took a bunch of sheathing tape. You would use this in your house if you were putting up vapor barrier, and this sheathing tape is this is pricey stuff. Around here in Nova Scotia, Canada, I think we're looking at probably about $15 a roll or something. And I'm just trying to save some of this in case I need it. Because, so what I did, you know, all that foam needs is a bit of resistance for it not to fall down. So I just put a bunch of, first I went across this bottom and I put a lip all the way across this, so it kind of hangs out here into nothingness. And then I put these little straps across here. It's raining today. So I put these straps across here just to give it some resistance so it'd stay up in there. And once you had a bit of it up there, then on your next spray, when you have some left over from whatever you were trying to do, you can just go in here and fill up any of the gaps that were made. But it did the trick. It provided enough resistance. Watch me pull the whole thing down. Oh, look, some of it's still wet. And that's the thing, when you're filling big gaps like this with that particular material, it's not really the right way to go. You will no doubt accomplish your goal, but it's not really the way it was meant to be used. Let's see, some of that stickiness is coming off of my hands. But anyway, so now we've got some very manageable gaps in there. So obviously some of these areas still have to cure a bit. So I won't refoam this area this afternoon, maybe this evening. By then that'll be cured up. And I'll fill up any little areas that are left, and then I'll trim it up. And then this space will actually, that's past the bulkhead in there. So what I plan on doing is basically, you know, I'll probably insulate more in there. Haven't completely decided how I'm going to do it, but it would be with like 1 inch. I've already lost quite a bit of storage by doing this. But when this bulkhead goes in, all from here back, I'll probably just use a white spray bomb, and because it's easy, and spray paint all this white. Probably won't even bother covering any of this over. I don't think. And spots like this, I'll just take a little bit of fiberglass, yellow or pink, put it in there and put a piece of sheathing tape over it. And I'll just spray it all white, because inside the cabinets I've learned it's way better to have it white in there, because it's in your cabinets, unless you're going to light every one, and it's going to be dark. And so it's advantageous to spray them white so it reflects as much light as possible, and you can see that pair of underwear you were trying to find. But anyway, that's what I'm doing today. So actually now I'm gonna try and put that panel in place, I think. Fun, fun, fun. Are you beaten, broken, destroyed, got nothing left? You've given up and you feel like checking out? Don't. Start thinking outside the cage.
So tell me, how do you feel? Have you been handed more than you can deal? Better hit the open road or blaze across the sky if you